Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk about movies, and this time to talk about a new horror release called Smile.
It's coffee time.
So I've been a little bit gone from this channel because I am a little bit more busy than usual with the work. I'm just taking more work at the moment. So my workload is higher and my free time is a little bit non-existent, but I'm trying to catch up with things. So I was lucky enough to go last Sunday to watch Smile in a premiere. So 5 days before the movie officially comes out on the 30th of September. And I went there excited because the trailer made it look a little bit like your typical horror movies where there is a curse or there is something going around, something like The Ring. But I had the feeling that this movie had a little bit more that it was hiding from the trailer. So I went to it excited, and I'm here to let you know what I thought of it, spoiler free. So if you've seen the trailer, you probably also, like myself, had the feeling that the trailer maybe showed a little bit too much, but there is a lot that happens in the film that is not in the trailer, and I was glad to see that, and to see that this movie had a bit more to offer, even though it was not super original. But to be honest, I had a good time with it. This is an American supernatural psychological horror film written and directed by Parker Finn in his feature film debut, based on his 2020 short film Laura Hasn't Slept. We follow Dr. Rose Cotter that after witnessing a traumatic event at work, her life basically changes completely and brings back trauma from her past. So Dr. Rose Cotter works at a hospital, and she basically is responsible to come and talk to people that are being brought into the hospital with some sort of like breakdown, some sort of psychological problem, and she tries to talk to them, calm them down, try to figure out what's going on with them. So a lot of the patients she meets, you know, they hear voices, they see things, they have some sort of psychotic problem, and her job is a lot. So she works in this psychiatric ward and she has all of these weird patients, and what I really loved is that from the very beginning the movie already starts with a bang and already starts with what you've already seen in the trailer. There is this patient that comes in and starts to talk about, you know, these kind of things she's seeing. Basically, she's seeing people around her smiling. She's able to see people that have already passed away. She sees that this kind of entity, this kind of thing that it is haunting her, can be anywhere, anytime, and it can turn into anybody. And after this patient talks to Rose, she commits suicide, and Rose is horrified. And that's where the movie kickstarts, and you already see that on the trailer, so it is not really a spoiler. So that is basically where the whole mess starts for Rose. Now, Rose is a character that is going to have to go through a lot, and I think the actress did a really good job. I just felt like I didn't ended up connecting with her as much as I wanted to. She goes through a lot, relieves a lot of past trauma from her life, and you're gonna see some flashbacks of her childhood, and there's a lot of elements trying to connect the audience with our main character, but I feel like for me, I didn't care for her as much as I probably should have. After Rose witnesses the patient's suicide, she starts to experience some of the things that the patient was talking about. She is hearing things, she's seeing things, and she starts to notice that people around her have this weird smile. And to be honest, it can be so tricky to make that work in horror. I remember when I watched the movie Truth or Dare, which this movie really reminded me of that one. That movie was bad. I mean, it was really bad, and it was not effective, and it was a joke. And I have to say that even though I did hear some people laughing at times in this film, the smiles were effective, and you know, in the way that they're creepy and unsettling, which is what they're supposed to do. And you have now Rose kind of conflicted because she has this problem and she knows nobody's gonna believe her, and this is kind of like a curse, you know, kind of like the ring that you are targeted now and now you have to deal with it. So it does have elements from those films. Rose's ex, Joel, who is a cop, was my favorite character of this film. I really liked him as a character. And you know, I really enjoyed his performance, and also how he reacted to what was going on around him. I'm just not gonna go into spoilers in this video. I did felt like a lot of the characters' decisions and the things that they did were in order to push the narrative forward, so some of those things might not have been logical or the smartest thing to do. But I also have to realize that these are characters that are put under a lot of pressure. These are characters that are questioning sometimes their own sanity, and so they might, you know, make some rash decisions, like they might do just something out of fear and not really think about it through. So, you know, there's a justification for what they were doing, but sometimes their decisions were not exactly what I would have hoped the character would have done. When it comes to the whole film, like the production, the sound and all of that, I have to, you know, praise them for turning like an 11-minute, I think, short that it was into a full-length film, because they had to stretch a lot the idea that they had. In order to represent Rose's mental and emotional downward spiral, the director uses an array of strong camera angles that suggest the lack of consistency in her newfound reality. They are sometimes slowly rotating the camera 90 degrees, inverting the camera completely upside down, and there is a lot of like invasive, like really close-ups of people's faces, which in this movie it creates that kind of unsettling feeling because you don't know if they're gonna smile, if they're gonna turn into something else. So those close-ups throughout the whole film were really effective to build up tension, because you were all the time expecting something to happen, someone to smile. And in general, the camera work, what it did is elevate that feeling of somebody being haunted, and you know, this psychological struggle that our main character was going through. The production design, the sets and stuff, everything was a little bit minimalistic, which I appreciated because I don't think the film needed all of that. And there is an attention that was paid to detail when it comes to the colors. So Rose most of the time is wearing blue, which is a color that we associate obviously with sadness. The hospital that she works in is pink, which I think it's based on some doctor studies that pink is a color that it's supposed to reduce aggression in patients. So there's a lot of those things that we're taking into consideration, and I thought were really smart. And I feel like at the end of the day, the movie had the theme of, you know, mental illness and how sometimes we are trying to demonize or disregard people that are going through some of those mental struggles. Now let's talk about the horror. So when it comes to the horror, I feel like if you are someone that has not watched much horror, you're gonna have such a good time with this film. There is a ridiculous amount of jump scares. There is a lot of them, and they were effective in the sense that people in the cinema reacted to them every time. Some of them were better executed than others, and by that I mean some of them felt a bit cheaper than others, but they were, you know, just keep going with those jump scares, like making sure that the audience is at the edge of their seat throughout the whole film. But if you, like me, have seen a lot of horror, you're gonna see so many elements for films that you've seen before that a lot of the things are not gonna have the same impact for you. Obviously, you're gonna see a lot more things coming. Even, you know, you might have been able to guess a little bit what's gonna happen towards the end if you have seen a lot of horror movies. But I have to say the third act was my absolute favorite part. You kind of know where things are going, where things are escalating to. I did not really expect some of the visuals, let's say, from the third act, and I absolutely ate them up. I loved them so much. I even turned to my partner and I was like, I'm loving this. I love this so much. And apart from that, to be honest, it's also a movie where you're kind of in tension because anybody at any moment can smile or can turn into something. Like, you know, there's something going around Rose that is hunting her and you don't know when it's exactly going to show up. So at the end of the day, I decided to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5, which means that I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. Now, it was not exactly an original movie, but I do feel like it is something different from what I was expecting when I went to watch the film, and that third act really brought it home for me. Now, it is another movie that is exploring trauma through horror. It has, you know, a lot of jump scares. It's kind of related to movies like The Ring, Truth or Dare, even It Follows. So it's not something extremely original, but it is effective. So if you love horror in general, I think that this is such a fun movie. You're gonna love it. And I do recommend you to go and check it out at the theater when it comes out on the 30th of September. Or if you're as lucky as I was and you've already seen it, let me know down below what you thought about the film. And if you have not seen it yet, are you planning to? Have you seen the trailer? Let me know your thoughts in general about this film in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye!